Cars coming round, 2x2 formation. Safety car has peeled in. You can hear the engine notes rising as the cars accelerate up to the line. The red lights will be on the gantry beneath us, beneath my commentary position here. And any moment now it goes out and the race gets underway, and it's 190 minutes, so an hour and 30 minutes underway. Though it's not yet started counting down on the TSL timing screen, but never mind that. Up towards Druids they go for the first time then. It looks like it is the number 5 car of Matt Priestwood then that is leading the way as they turn their way around Druids for the first time. It's the 187 car of George Healer in second place. George Healer went well in the 120 coupe yesterday, switching back to a different car in the 116s today. Did have one race where he went into the barriers after a little bit of contact from Anthony said in the 120 coupe race earlier on, but fortunately not too much damage was done. So it's Priestwood from Healer, and then in the third place at the moment it looks like it's Will Abraham, I think, in the 209. I think that's a good start from him, but he started 6th on the grid. We'll get confirmation on that in a moment. Hopefully we will anyway, as the cars come across the line to complete lap number 1. But yes, TSL is not registering anything at the moment, which is not helpful in a 90-minute race. So hopefully TSL will connect the wires that have become disentangled in a few moments, and we'll have some timing on this to support what's going on the track. But it was the 209 car, I think, up to third position of Will Abraham. 4th looks to be Peter Keane. 5th is the car of Lee Pearce, and yes, they're slowly catching up on the timing now. So we'll be able to give you the race order next time round. I think it's Lee Pearce though in 5th position in the all blue car. But look at this, hustling up the inside for 2nd position. Up the inside of George Healer goes Will Abraham in the 209 car, and it looks like we're going to get a change there before very much longer. But no, Healer's managed to hold him off for the time being, and that's allowed Peter Keane, the cousin of Phil Keane, to go around the outside of Abraham, and he goes up to 3rd place instead. So it's Peter Keane that goes up to 3rd place, the champion of the 116 sprints last year. He moves up the order to 3rd place, but at the end of lap 2 it's Priestwood that is leading, Healer that is 2nd, and 3rd it is Abraham again. So he's got back ahead at Druids, ahead of Peter Keane. But now Matt Priestwood is getting away. He was a front runner in the 116 trophy a few seasons ago, tried some GT racing last year, but back in 750 Motor Club paddock at the moment, the 116s and the 120s. For this weekend at least, we'll see what his plans are for the rest of the season. There's Lee Pearce in the 234 car. You can see that on screen at the moment, but look at this, Matt Priestwood is getting away in the lead of the race. This is the only time of the race where we know for certain who's in the 2 driver cars, because they may well, well, we don't know whether there's going to be a driver change or not at both stops, or one stop, or even potentially neither stop, I guess, during the 2 pit windows. George Healer fending off Will Abraham and Peter Keane there, not far behind either is Pearce. The driver that made a bit of a slower stop, but is still going well in 6th place, is the number 8. That's Albert Henriksen Bell, the 18-year-old from Hartford. He's a student in a kart driver coach. We'll pick up on that again in a minute. We get the change for 2nd this time because Abraham gets a better exit from Graham Hill-Benn and goes up the inside of George Healer into Surtees. He goes up into 2nd place now. So it's Abraham to 2nd, Healer to 3rd, Peter Keane 4th, Lee Pearce 5th, and then Albert Henriksen Bell in 6th position with dual Swedish and English nationality. Henriksen Bell, both of his mother, who's Swedish, and his English father, attending here at Brands Hatch this weekend, so hopefully they've been encouraged by the performances that Albert has been putting in this weekend. Certainly up there in a very creditable top 6 at the moment, amongst a very creditable and competitive field. He's there in number 8, which is the I guess greenish blue car with the yellow doorways and the gold stripe down the middle of it. It's the number 5 car, though, of Matt Priestwood in the lead of the race. Matt Kersey we saw out yesterday in the 120s. The driver from Halifax. Spray Tech Road and Race Car Body Shop and Wheel Guru Alloy Straightening is his business. Being chased by George Healer in the Eatlean car, but he's under pressure again from Abraham. He got back ahead. No, he's not. He's trailing off Peter Keane now, isn't he? I beg your pardon. Abraham is ahead of him. He's got Peter Keane behind him. Then it's Pearce. Then it's Henriksen Bell. Great to see some enthusiastic photographers here at Brands Hatch as well, capturing the shot from the inside at Druids there. As the cars horseshoe past them. Here's the fight for third. Henriksen Bell at the back of that shot. We're watching Healer against Keane. Healer in the 187 car. Driver from Winsford in Cheshire, not too far away from Wilton Park. Peter Keane, based not so far away from that, in Reading. Meanwhile, Matt Priestwood building up a good lead here. Must be over 2 seconds now. It is 2.049 seconds over Will Abraham in second. But interestingly, both Healer and Keane do personal best lap times on that lap to make up 2 seconds to the back of Will Abraham's car. And is that a challenge? It looks like Albert Henriksen's Bell has gone up into 5th place there. Just looking out of my commentary box window, yes he has. He's got ahead of Lee Pearce now. So that's a good move made by Albert Henriksen Bell. Next, Antonio Souza car, being run by 4040, who have a lot of experience of preparing cars and running cars in this championship. Done a lot of karting and some sim racing as well. He plays the trombone as well. Does Albert, multi-talented young man. And now up into P5. We're watching the battle a little bit further back there, featuring the number 78 car. That is the car that started by... Just trying to pick up who that one was started by on my list. Yeah, James Paul, who's dropped back down the order. Started on 5th on the grid, but is now running in 14th position. Just behind him is the number 86 car of Pete Brand, who normally goes a little bit better than this, but he's down in 16th. In fact, it's 15th and 16th those two cars are now for the moment. That's the treble 6 car we can see on screen there. That's Ben Wilshire running in 11th place, but we go back to the battle for third, with Healer working really hard to keep Peter Keane at bay. About 7 minutes or so away from the pit lane window opening. And when that does, I wonder if there'll be some early stops made, maybe to just try and break up this battle, try to steal an advantage to get ahead in the pit stops. As I say, it's 60 seconds stationary, but there is time to be gained and lost on the way in and out of the pit lane. And of course, you need to make sure your stop is as efficient as can be as well. Could be quite a busy pit lane at times. One other thing to note is that the pit stops can't be taken behind the safety car. We've not had a caution period as yet, but if we do get one, we can't have pit stops taken behind the safety car. There's the race leader, Matt Priestwood. He's now nearly 3 seconds clear of Will Abraham in second, but I sense that Healer and Keane have reeled him in. And Albert Henriksen Bell on the last lap has done the best lap of the race, a 59.882, 9,000ths faster than the time set by Matt Priestwood. So that's a very creditable effort indeed. And only a couple of tenths outside the time that Mac, I think it was probably Mac, set in practice this morning for this race. Of course, the cars will have a relatively heavy fuel load at this stage of the race, heavier than they would have done during the qualifying session. 116 trophy, great place to have some longer distance races, 90-minute races that they have during the course of the season, and now for the last 3 seasons they've had these sprint races as well on the Saturday of the typical 2-day event. Opens up most of the rounds of the championship. towards Surtees they go once again. Healer still managing to fend off Keane. There's another lap in the 59s for Henriksen Bell that time. You can see he's right there in that bluey green car. Challenge there from Jack Gordon, number 71, on Lee Peart in the 234 car, and also with them now is 47 Luke Fox in the car that he's sharing with Connor Anderson. I think it's Connor's car that he's joining them in this weekend. Up towards Shaw's Colour Druids they go. Priestwood with the lead of nearly 3 seconds now, but second, third, fourth and fifth right together. Henriksen Bell has dropped that Gordon-Pearce scrap, and it was Gordon ahead of Pearce by about 0.05 of a second as they crossed the timing line that time at the end of lap 10. Hour and 19 minutes of the race left to go. 4 minutes away from the first pit stops of the weekend. Peter Keane there in the 151 car. The sprint champion last year, went very well in yesterday's races with wins. Tough to beat, but he does seem to be better in the shorter races generally than in the longer distance 116 trophy races. In the 116 trophy race last year he did have 3 wins, saying that, one of which I think was shared with his cousin Phil. But we also had Will Abraham and Scott Jeffs, they had a win. Ethan Hall and Matt Hycock also had wins during the course of the 2025 season, which was truncated at 6 rounds, because the final round at Donington Park was abandoned due to fog. Just a whole day of racing there last October. So this is the first trophy race since last September, more than 6 months ago. That last race was won by Matthew Hycock from Luke Fox and George Healer. Of those 3, well, Matt Hycock's not on the grid, Luke Fox is 7th, George Healer at the moment is in 3rd, so looking to go for back-to-back podiums if it stays this way. But I've got a feeling there's a lot of racing to come here in this Gaz Shocks 116 trophy contest around the 1.2 mile Indy circuit here at Brands Hatch. Abraham, and that time Healer is holding on, but overlapping with him briefly was the car off Peter Keane, number 151. Henriksen Bell is with them as well now. He's very much made it a 4-car battle for 2nd position. I wonder if he's going to be able to make any more moves there. He's also carrying the logos of the FAT Karting League for the opportunity they created for himself and many other drivers. His Albert, lots of karting experience under his belt. Further back you can just see going through shot the white car of Jack Godden, now with Fox. It's Luke Fox right behind him because they've dropped Lee Pearce now. Yeah, Pearce about a second or so behind them. Up to Druids again. Probably in 2 laps time the pit window will open, I think. And again you've got Peter Keane alongside George Healer there as they went through Druids. Fantastic dice for 2nd position. Just getting notification of an issue, I think, for Harry Darrell. He's getting a penalty. Let me just see what that is for. It's I think a 5-second penalty for exceeding track limits by the looks of it. Yep, so that's not yet been applied to his time, but it will be. And there's a few drivers already that have attracted some degree of attention. Of course, in a 90-minute race, you should say, then far more opportunities to exceed track limits. Therefore, you're more likely to see penalties mount up. So they'll get a warning first with a black and white flag, and then the time penalties are 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and then a drive-through penalty will start to mount up if drivers are indiscreet. The centre pads, that part of the circuit at Graham Hill Bend, they've all avoided them this time because they all kept their wheels either on the circuit or at worst on the curbs. So that wouldn't have triggered the sensitive sensors there. And the way that works is it immediately provides footage for the clerk of the course to review and just verify that, yeah, the car did go over the white lines, and perhaps not because they were pushed out wide by a fellow driver, and therefore it's appropriate to make a penalty. Battle for second continuing, and it's still Abraham, Healer, Keenan, Henriksen, Bell together, but Abraham has been caught again by the remaining three in this group, and I think because he's probably more focused on his mirrors than anything else, he's lost ground to Matt Priestwood in the lead of the race in the number 5 car. Over the curbs at the first part of the Graham Hill bend, then again respecting the green concrete on the exit of the corner. That is what you can't go over, not legitimately anyway. As I watch out of my commentary box window, I do see quite a few cars probably going a little bit too far there, triggering with the sensor pads. And into the pits, an early pit stop here for George Healer, and is that Mac Priestwood? Yes, it is. The lead is in as well. Mac Priestwood in for a very early pit stop. It's just a bit further down the road. We'll try and see if they do a driver change there, or if they keep Mac in. That means that Will Abraham has assumed the lead on the road. Peter Keane second, and Albert Henriksen Bell up to 3rd place. Those three heading out of Druids. Here they are on screen now, and down to Graham Hill Bend. I don't know if we'll be able to hear from Yusuf at all during the course of these pit stops to see if we can find out what's going on down there. A bit of work being done on one of the cars. Can't quite see the number on that car though that is closest to camera. Just having a look to see who else might be in the pits. There's several. There's Scott Jeff's car is in, the Tom Sibley car is in as well. And now going into the pits is Will Abraham from initially second position and now the lead of the race. So that means that it's these two over the line that the on the road leaders at the moment. Peter Keane in the 151 car and Albert Henriksen Bell in number 8. Because they both have to make a pit stop, a 60-second pit stop between now and 40 minutes into the race. So they've got another 20 minutes or so to do that. Plenty of time, they don't need to make the pits yet. Although one thing that they will bear in mind is that because you can't make the pit stop behind the safety car, you perhaps don't want to leave it too late, because if you have a situation whereby the safety car comes out and you can't make your stop, then you might be penalised for that if you can't make your stop within the pit window. So Peter Keane now leading, 151. Albert Henriksen Bell up to second. Are either of these going to peel off into the pit lane this time? No, they're not. They both continue. Just going past the pit lane entrance now. Coming up to deal with some lapped traffic there. Might have been, was that a 321 car of Caroline Early, possibly, that they were going past? The driver from Addleston. Next target for them is, I think, going to be the number 11 car, which is that of Russ Gibson, the Lothersdale man. So a fair bit of traffic to be dealt with. There's Henriksen Bell though in number 8. Our driver in second position, only turned 18 a few days ago. In the number 321 car, we've got another glimpse of her there. Here's the fight for not the lead of the race, because that's the number 11 car, which is the back marking Russ Gibson car. So that's Peter Keane and Albert Henriksen Bell both getting past that back marker. But he's now running in 19th position with all of the cars behind, having made their first scheduled stop, I think. Peeling in is the number 79 car, so that's the 78 car, I think that was. Yes, it was. The Poole and Devlin machine started that one by James Poole. So Charles Devlin will be the second driver in that car. As I say, once we get into this phase of the race, we don't necessarily know which driver's in the car at any given time. It's not necessarily communicated to us. I don't think we can get that information necessarily from the timing screen. Just had 20 minutes pass in the race now. It's Keane still from Hendricks and Bell out in front. There they are, just heading up the hill towards Druids once again. 666 car is just into the pits now. That's the car of Ben Wilshire, the driver from Huck in Hampshire. There's the two leaders heading through Graham Hill Bend. And just coming up to lap the number 200 car of Giles Carter, man from Huddersfield. Look at this busy piece of tarmac. We've got the 33 car there. That is the car of the Udans, Simon and Sean Udan, and it was Sean that started that car today, and they've not yet made their stop. There's a few more drivers peel into the pit lane, including Peter Keane. So that leaves Albert Hendricks and Bell on his maiden race weekend, leading the race in the Gaz Shocks 116 trophy. So he's now out on his own. He's about 3.5 seconds clear of Jack Godden, who's also yet to make his stop. Jack, who shares with his father Christopher. Jack usually does the majority of the driving in that car because he is the quicker driver. Also into the pits now is the number 73 car of Theo and Matt Tibbetts. So best of the stoppers is, I think, the Seddon and Priestwood car. And their pit stop time, including the 60-second stationary, was 1:29.564. So it's about 30 seconds into and out of the pits, plus the 60-second stationary. You see there the cars have to pull in at a 45-degree angle to the pit lane, and then they have to be pushed back out. They can't reverse into their own power. They have to be pushed back out. So that they can resume their race for safety reasons. This looks like a driver change going on. Couldn't see the number on this particular car though. But yeah, this is what it's like, and of course it's quite a lot to get done in 30 seconds. Drivers get out, new drivers get in and booted up. Of course, if you've got a driver that's a different stature, maybe some other adjustments that you need to make sure that they're both comfortable and safe to go back out into the race. Team ready there to push the car back out into the pit lane just as soon as the 60 seconds have elapsed. The 82 car that we could see there, that's James Cannon, Mark McCulloch and Russell Tate. And if I find again my list of who the start drivers were, the 82 car was started, in fact it's just James Cannon and Mark McCulloch. Now it's McCulloch that started that car, so James Cannon will be getting in now. TSL time screen does theoretically tell me who's got into the cars if they next to, but I'm not actually sure that I believe what it's telling me, so I won't hold that as gospel. Albert Hendricks and Bell is still out there, but he's one of what, about 6 or 7 drivers now that have yet to make their first stop, with 16 minutes left of this opening pit window. There's one car that's just kicked up some dust there through the gravel trap at Paddock Hill Bend, but has come out the other side without coming to a halt, fortunately. So that would be the kind of scenario that teams don't want. Is the safety car coming out necessarily at this stage? 27 full-send racing car coming into the pits. That's James Allen, the drive from London, heading into pit lane. So watch now the number 10, which is Jonathan Baker, the drive from Lordswood, who's going solo this weekend. He has made his first stop and is running 15th overall. Seddon and Priestwood now back up to 8th position, having made their first stop. And a couple more drivers heading into the pits as well. The 234 car of Lee Pearce, the 27 car as well now of James Allen. Minutes of the race now gone, coming up to the 1/3 distance mark in this Gasshocks 116 trophy. Once a few more drivers have made their first stops, we'll give you a rundown on the order, but it doesn't really make sense until they've all done so. I mean, I do have that small time window in the race where we do know that everyone will have made one stop, or everyone should have made one stop, but not yet their second. Of course, you can make more stops if you want outside the pit window, but they won't count as one of your mandatory pit visits, so you'll have to still make 2 mandatory 60-second stops if you need to do some routine maintenance, and of course you can come in at any other time. It just won't necessarily count towards the race. Henriksen, Spell, Godden, and now the 118 car up to 3rd position. That's the James Hone started car. He's sharing that car with the TCR ace Callum Newsham this weekend. Car going slowly, slower than normal on the back straight is number 11 Russ Gibson, who's yet to make his stop and therefore is running in 6th position overall. Getting a shot of Gibson there in the number 11 car. 57-year-old from Skipton in North Yorkshire, a retired engineer, supported by his wife Jane and 2 boys Thomas and Ryan. He's a newcomer to racing, a novice for this season in the JC Racing prepared car. So welcome along to Russ Gibson. His first race, I think this probably will be then, in the Gasshocks 116 trophy. He's sure to make his first pit stop. On that lap, he has been passed by drivers who have made their first pit stop, including Seddon and Priestwood, who are 5 seconds clear of George Healer, and Keane are only 0.3 of a second apart. So all of those have now made their stops. Will Abraham only another second behind him. So Healer, Keane, and Abraham, albeit in a slightly different order, have managed to get themselves back together quite effectively after their pit stops, but about 5 seconds away from the Seddon and Priestwood car. Which is no surprise because they were getting away, those 2. I think Priestwood started the car in the first phase of the race before the pit window opened. Number 84 going through shot there. That is the car of Dexter Le Sauvage. And a very warm welcome to the 32-year-old scaffolder from Guernsey onto the grid. Sharing his car, the car with his father, Ian. Actually, I'm not sure whether it's Dexter or Ian in the car, but the Le Sauvage is from Guernsey. Started circuit racing in 2026. They've done some motocross and hill climbing in the past. JC Racing preparing this car as well. So they're committed, aren't they? Flying in nuggets from Guernsey for their 116 trophy racing. So they're very welcome to join us here at the 750 Motor Club. I'm sure we've had too many Channel Islanders racing with the 750 Motor Club in the past. A very well-known Channel Islander in British motor racing circles, Andy Prio, world touring car champion of the past. Bumper dragging from one of the cars, it's the 325 car, Callum Davis, I think that is, some loose bodywork, and I think he'll see the black and orange flag because of that. See the black flag with the orange spot. You can't quite see the orange spot. There you are, you can now, being displayed, but I think that is going out to number 325 because of that dragging bodywork. As into the pits comes our race leader, number 8, Albert Henriksen Bell. He's making his first pit stop of the race. And he's done that with about 10 minutes to spare before the pit lane window closes. So it'll be interesting to see where he feeds in after all of this, because of course we've got Healer and Keane and Abraham right together still, 5 seconds or so behind Priestwood. Is he managing to get ahead of them? Is he going to fall behind them as a result of these pit stops? We'll try and pick that up in a moment. In fact, I can see that battle for what is effectively second overall going through Druids now. I can see that in my commentary box window. And Healer's lost out there. George Healer has lost a position to Peter Keane. So Peter Keane has gone through to what is effectively second position. Will Abraham just behind him. There's the 325, who's had that rear bumper ripped off. Which is the easiest way to deal with that. There is the car that's the de facto leader of the race. Number 5, Anthony Seddon and Matt Priestwood. Only one more car to come, which is the 118 car, which is James Hone. He's yet to make his first stop. Whether he's going to hand over to Callum Newsham at this stage or continue on for the moment, I'm not quite sure. I guess if you want to split the race roughly evenly between 2 drivers now, the thing to do is stop right up toward the 40-minute mark at the end of the pit window, or as soon as you can after the 50-minute mark of the race. Or alternatively, drive in for the third. Still the best lap of the race to Matt Priestwood from earlier on into the race, but that Hone car has now come in, so I think that's everyone having now made a stop. So shortly we'll be able to give you a rundown on the order. But in terms of where Henricks and Bell filtered in, he filtered in 1.1 seconds behind the Keane, Healer and Abraham battle, so more or less where he went into the pits, if you like, before the pit stop started. Just watching the cars beneath my commentary box window here. Just seeing them go through now. Yeah, there's that group of cars. And Henricks and Bell, yeah, he's actually lost a bit more time than that, because I think the 1.1 seconds was when he was exiting the pits. He's been through again, yeah, and he's about 5 seconds behind the Will Abraham car. Probably makes sense to give you a bit of a rundown on the order then. You can see it on the timing tower, of course, but to confirm, it's number 5, Anthony Seddon and Matt Priestwood leading, 151 Peter Keane in second, 187 George Healer in third place, 209 Will Abraham fourth, 8 Albert Henricks and Bell fifth, 47 Connor Anderson and Luke Fox sixth, Jack and Christopher Gordon 7th, Scott Jeffs 8th, Lee Pearce 9th, rounding out the top 10 is the 27 car, which we've not mentioned too much during the race, and that's James Allen. Black and white driving standards flag going out to somebody there. No doubt for further track limits infringements. I think Harry Dowell, who is towards the back of the field anyway, in the number 36 car, he now, well actually 18th, which is better than he started the race, but he's now had a 10-second penalty added to his 5-second penalty, so he's certainly had a trying race so far. A few too many track limits infringements. So 6 minutes to go in the first pit window, but it's academic now because I think everybody has made their stops. The next pit window will open with 40 minutes of the race to go, so 50 minutes gone. There's the race leader going through. How big is his lead now? It was sort of 5 seconds last time I looked. Yeah, it's now 6.39, and actually on that lap, the Seddon Priestwood car, whoever's at the wheel now, has done its best lap of the race, 59.820. 59.820 is the new fastest lap of the race. That record for these cars is it was a 60.08, so it is a new lap record for either Seddon or Priestwood, whichever one it is that is in the car at the moment. I suspect it might be Matt Priestwood that has done that lap time, but a new lap record. And we've had, I think, a couple of drivers, we've had 3 drivers so far below the, 4 drivers below the 1 minute barrier. Seddon and Priestwood, Peter Keane Albert Henriksen Bell, and also further back the 78 car as well, all below the minute barrier, and all which would have been good enough for lap records. James Paul it was that set that time in the number 58 car. There's a penalty now being applied to car 330. It's a race time penalty for, I'm guessing, exceeding track limits. Car 325 in 30th position, I should say. That's also now gone up to 15 seconds, that penalty. So that's a car that's in 30th position anyway. But now a 10-second penalty to add to the 5-second penalty that car had already served. Well spread out around this 1.2 mile Brands Hatch Indy circuit. I think we've got 31 of them circulating. I think we had 32 qualify, so that makes sense. We've just lost the Theodore Wood Christopher Khan Hummel car, which rolled this morning, so 32 of them taking the start. I think all of them still circulating as well, which is good to see. This car's generally reasonably reliable, so if there is a retirement, it's often caused by damage rather than a mechanical woe. These cars, the E87 116i, so we're watching the George Heeler Will Abraham battle for third position now. Peter Keane just a little bit up the road of them. These cars originally manufactured between 2004 and 2006. They run the 1.6 litre N45 engine, and it's a sort of identical performance and low cost theory. No stiffening of the chassis except for the roll cage points is permitted, so no seat welding, acid dipping, anything like that. Ride height has to be at least 65 millimetres. The exterior silhouette must be as per the original manufacturer. They have to have a laminated windscreen for obviously safety reasons. They can take out the fog lights though. Mandatory 6-point roll cage. Needs to be certain approved models. The engine maximum permitted power is 130 brake horsepower. It's set on the Maha dyno, which is a small tolerance range. You have to have a Paris control exhaust system. An official championship, official trophy ECU, and various modifications of the engine, they're all prohibited really to keep the costs down. 5-speed manual get-drag transmission. They run gas shocks, 116 Trophies suspension kit, as you'd expect, being sponsored by that company. They have to retain full braking assistance. They have standard sized discs, hydraulic handbrake. They run on 16-inch tyres, shod with Nankang rubber. The minimum weight of the car 1,130 kilos. Well, on that lap, Will Abraham did get ahead of George Heeler and up into third position. And there we can see him, and yeah, that's a slower car that's now got between the two of them in the back of shot. How far behind is Henriksen Bell? He's 3 seconds adrift, but he's closing on the cars ahead of him, so we'll see if, as he did in the first part of the race, Albert Henriksen Bell can latch himself onto the battle for second place. One of the best ways to go one-make long-distance racing, I would say, the Gashox 116 Trophy. Because the cars, although they are humble in origin, BMW has a bit more cachet than certain other models that are used for budget one-make racing. But they make quite drivable, credible, rear-wheel drive cars, which is why they've built up such a strong following over the past few seasons. One of the biggest championships in the UK in terms of its average grid sizes. If you read the annual result summary of these things in Autosport magazine every month, as it now is. watching here the 78 car, the James Paul and Charles Devlin car, 4040 Racing Squad. The black cross and the yellow background indicates that at least one of the drivers is a novice, and that would be Charles Devlin in this case. So if either of the drivers is a novice, then they have to display that while they get the requisite number of signatures on their race licence in order to be signed off by a clerk of the course and allowed to race without it, have their full licence upgrade. Coming up towards the halfway mark, the pit window, academic though it may be, is being closed now. I can see there's a black flag going out to someone from the pit wall now. Trying to figure out who that is. There's also been some contact which involves, I think, Will Abraham and also the number 34 car, which is Toby O'Reilly at Paddock Hill Bend. So we'll see if that's impacted Will Abraham on that lap. I can tell you that there has been a change for 5th because Luke Fox and Connor Anderson have got ahead of Albert Henriksen Bell now and up into P5. The Harry Darrell car, yes, that may well have been the car that was getting the black flag, because I think it has had to come in, yeah, for a drive-through penalty now, because that's now 5 track limits infringements. The first 2 you can, quote-unquote, get away with, but the penalties do start to come after that. And there's more penalty balls, I think, going out from the pit wall as well. Well, Will Abraham is still there in 3rd position, even if he was involved in some contact. He's about to come past my commentary position here. Should be very shortly. Yeah, he's still there, not too far behind Peter Keane, actually, only 0.3 of a second behind. So those two really close. There we are, just getting the shot of them on screen now as well on the live stream. The 187 car of George Healer there in 4th position. He is now, 4 seconds clear of the car that's now up to 5th. That's the Anderson and Fox number 47 car, with Albert Henriksen Bell down to 6th position. So he's still in his first race weekend in the Gas Shocks 116 trophy. There's the race leading car coming through to complete lap number 41. 7.5 minutes away, so probably about 7 or 8 laps away from the pit window opening once again for the second mandatory stops. And that was another lap below 1 minute for the Seddon and Priestwood car, 59.939 that time through. Fastest of anyone on the circuit at the moment. And Abraham has got his way up into 2nd place now. Just coming up on our timing screen, just watching that out of my window here. We're watching a battle a little bit further around the track, but Abraham's got himself ahead of Phil Keane now and up into 2nd place. I said on the last lap they were pretty close, but they're dropping down to Graham Hill Bench as we're watching the Seddon and Priestwood car come up to put a lap on number 73, which is the car of Matt and Theo Tibbets. Matt, who started racing in 2024. A couple of seasons ago, we did some autograss racing before. The 52-year-old from Brighton, so he gets racing at his local circuit this weekend. There you can see Will Abraham now up into 2nd position, just ahead of Keane and Healer. So they've been pretty inseparable all the way through. They've swapped and changed positions a little bit as this race has gone on. Wonder what the strategy is for the second stop. I guess, again, we'll probably see more stops in the early part of the pit window than we do in the later part. Again, just drivers exercising some caution about how much stall they can set in the safety car not being called, because they can't, of course, take the mandatory stop behind the safety car. Not that we've seen it come out yet, and just looking at it out of the commentary box window and its position, it stays there at the exit of Graham Hill Bend and is scrambled from there if it's required. But to date, it's not been needed. Well, it sounds like there's been a bit more contact between Keane and Abraham. And Abraham has gone missing, hasn't he? Well, that's possibly why. Missed that, I think, on screen. So it's Keane now second, Healer third, and Abraham's into the pits. Well, this is not from mandatory stop because the pit window hasn't opened yet. So will Abraham taking a stop out of sequence here? Have a look out of the com box window. Is at the far end of the pit lane, so it's a bit difficult for me to spot what's going on there, but we'll see. Pick that up on roaming camera in a moment, maybe. Try and figure out what's going on with Will Abraham, because there has been a couple of incidents, a couple of bits of contact I've noted during the course of this race for Will Abraham. So up to second has gone Peter Keane once again, George Healer up to third, Conor Anson and Luke Fox up to fourth, and Albert Henriksen Bell back to fifth. Scott Jeffs is the car that moves into the top six now. As a result of the stop for Will Abraham, he is still there in the pits, yet to come out once again, so it might be a terminal issue, but I wonder if it's something that's broken on the car as a result of any of the brushes that he's had during the course of this race so far. He's just heading back out into the race now, just having a look to see how long that pit stop was for the 209 car. It was a 1:25. Including the time in and out of the pit lane, which is pretty just about credible for it being a sort of 60-second stationary pit stop. I wonder if, again, I couldn't see what was going on at the stop there, but I wonder if he's just got his calculations wrong as to when the pit window was opening again. I thought he'd make his second stop, but he's going to need to make another one, I think. Or if he doesn't take it within the window, there will be a penalty for that. One-lap penalty for taking a pit stop outside the window, so it's not something that you'd really want. It could drop you well down the classification. At the moment, we've got the top 5 separated by 19 seconds. We've got the top 7 separated by 30 seconds. We're trying to have a look at how many we've got on the leading lap of the race here still, after 45 laps of racing into the second half of the timed element of the race now. Top 8, top 9, all on the lead lap, 10, 11. Pete Brand in 12th place on the lead lap, the Goggins in 13th, Walton and Goffin 14th. Might be about it though. Yeah, it is. So 14 cars out of the 31 circulating, or the worst circulating, are still on the lead lap of this race. The Udans have managed to pick themselves up a penalty as well. That's a 5-second penalty for exceeding track limits. That's car 33, and the 325 car has been in. That is to survey drive-through, so that's another car that's picked up now 3 penalties for exceeding track limits, a 5-second, a 10-second penalty, and a drive-through as well. That costs, I would think, roughly 30 seconds. Drive-through penalty. So here we are. This is the 5 seconds. They're just in behind the Udans actually. I was just mentioning a moment ago in the context of a track limits penalty, but we've got the 151 car of Peter Keane, the 187 car of George Healer. They are second and third in this race, which has got 41 minutes left to run. The race will finish around about 5:15, I think it will be. A few minutes later than it would have been scheduled to finish, I think. It's the longest race of the weekend here at Brands Hatch, the Gershot Small 1/6 Trophy. We had a 150-minute race last weekend. That was at Croft for the opening round of the Tequila Club Enduro Championship. That went without a safety car. I wonder if this one might also go the full duration without a caution period. Certainly one affecting the pit stops. 30 seconds or so away from the second pit window opening now. It's Peter Keane. He's 13.5 seconds now behind the leading car, the Seddon and Priestwood car. Oh, and the Taylor can see at Graham Hill Bend, and it's the number 27 car that's on the grass, James Allen on the grass. As a result of that, he got tangled up with one or two other cars, I think, but it looks like everyone's survived. Looking at Will Abraham, what's his situation now, having made that extra stop? He's now a couple of laps down, but he is circulating at a sort of representative lap time in the sort of 60 to 61 second bracket, but he's lost a lap or so on the leaders. So he's not going to be contending for victory here. Pit window now open for the second time. So is anyone going to take advantage of it early? Looks like Scott Jeffs might have done. So he's dived into the pit lane and is tumbling down the timing screen. So he was in, I think, 6th position before the second round of stops. So he's gone early in the number 249 car. Drive from Stratford upon Avon. Peter Keane there, just coming up to pass one of the slower cars. That's the 118 James Hone and Callum Newsham car. So I don't know if Callum Newsham is now in the car, if it's still James Hone. Of course, TCR racer. But Keane has no longer got Healer behind him because Healer has come into the pits as well. So George Healer in the 187 car, he's into the pit lane. So he's dropping down. Pete Brand, number 86, is also in the pits from 11th position as well. There's the car in 4th position, number 47. That's Connor Anderson and Luke Fox. Luke, who went well yesterday in a different car in the 15-minute races for the 116 Sprint Championship. And actually, that car coming into the pit lane now. Just heading down pit road. So a handful of cars making early stops there. You can see Peter Keane in as well in the 151 car. All lined up together, a lot of these cars. 89 car with the Arts car type livery on it. Freddie Tatham, who's going solo in this race now, was originally slated to be shown with Ian Bate. Meanwhile, George Healer, I can see, has gone back into the race from our commentary position. So we'll see if we have the same situation again, where the cars that were together before the stops emerge from the stops together again, because we've got both Keane and Healer have made stops on consecutive laps here, and they were right together on track, so it'll be interesting to see how they come out. Healer made a stop a lap before Keane. You can see the board there that showed that the pit window was open. It's now been replaced by a penalty board for some reason. That's because the 78 car is getting a 5-second time penalty. That's James Poole and Charles Devlin. So that's their first penalty that they've been notified of, a time penalty anyway. They've seen the black and the white driving standards flag before. Now, looking to see where everyone comes out of the pits. Peter Keane is just leaving the pits now. He's going to be behind. I think he might be behind George Healer here. I'm just watching as they rejoin the circuit. No, they're pretty much right together again. Absolutely remarkable. They've been racing all this time. They're making pit stops on different laps, and they're right together again. There they go, going up to Druids now. You can see them on the screen, making pit stops on consecutive laps, but they're still absolutely together on track when they come back out. So it must have been very similar times for their pit stops. I'll just see if I can have a look at that. Peter Keane's stop was a 1:29.053, and George Healer's stop was a 1:28.799, so within a second of one another. And of course, temporarily, at least Will Abraham is in the mix again now. In fact, I think he was separating them over the line. But of course, he's got another stop to make because he stopped outside of the pit window. 3-2-1 there is Caroline Early, the bookkeeper from Alston, 54 years of age. She's married to Lee with 3 children, Stephen and Ella Rose. And one grandchild as well. Only started racing 2 years ago in the Simple Racing 6 that the team built themselves. Simple Racing, I like that. It sets the sights at a relatively modest level, doesn't it? No frills attached. But Caroline Early going back into the race in the 321 car, and she is in 30th position. Now Scott Jeffs has not gone back into the race. Said he was someone who looked like he was making a stop early. Well, it might not have been a scheduled stop, because Scott Jeffs is still in the pits, and it looks like his car may have retired. There it is, in fact. We're just seeing it on screen now. So there's a problem. They're underneath the rear of the car. It's up on the jacks. Problem with the, I don't know, with the suspension maybe that they're looking at there. But anyway, Scott Jeffs, who was inside the top 6, no longer in contention for a leading finish in this race. Peter Keane and George Heeler together, they are at the moment 10th and 11th overall. Abraham is 9th, just slightly ahead of them on the road actually. There he is, but he still needs to make another stop. It's showing on our screen, of course, that he has made 2 stops, but one of those was not in the pit window. It was not an official mandatory stop, so he's going to have to stop again. Albert Henriksen-Bell has managed to find his way into the lead of the race again by delaying his pit stop relative to other drivers, so the 18-year-old for the second time is in the lead of the race. Right, the 249 car for Scott Jeffs is now back out into the race, so a few months ago we saw it up on the jacks, and now they've deemed that it's in a good enough state to go back out on track. Although, having said that, it's on the grass and keeping out of the way at Paddock Hill Bend, but it is continuing up the hill. But he'll just, I guess, drive the car around and see if it's in a fit state to continue. There's the 34 car, which is Toby O'Reilly. He's making his second stop, 13th on our screens a moment ago. Battle for what I think we'll find is going to be second. We have now had the second stop for Seddon and Fleetwood, and yes, they are indeed still ahead of these 2 on the road. So I think it's going to be the Seddon Fleetwood number 5 car that is effectively in the lead, and these 2 that are effectively second once the final few drivers have made their second stops. George Heeler on the podium 3 times last year. Looks like he's going to add to that collection. Oh, sorry, twice last year. Peter Keane, as I say, had 3 race wins. Seddon and Fleetwood's combination is not one that we had last year, but the Seddon, Caulfield and Highcock trio had the best result of 3rd during the course of last season's racing. Other race winners last year were Ethan Hall and Abraham shared with Scott Jeffs on one occasion last year, and Matt Highcock, as well as 3 wins for Peter Keane, one of which was with Phil Keane. I think only perhaps 5 or 6 drivers yet to make a second stop. Henriksen-Bell has just done his best lap of the race, 59.769, and that's only 13,000 slower than the fastest lap of anybody. So Henriksen-Bell is certainly no slouch in this his first 116 trophy race. The young man with Swedish and English parents. And I'm sure we'll see a lot more of him over the course of the rest of this season as he is making his first steps into car racing. Peter Keane in that 151 car then. De facto second, ahead of George Heeler. Great competition, this. 116 trophy at Chattanooga. It was like Harry Darrell, who's had a few track limits penalties. He's still circulating, though. Is Harry, in spite of that. In spite of the dramas he's had, he's at the moment shown in 10th position. I think that's actually showing he's made 2 stops, but he might not have completed his 2nd stop yet, so might not yet be out of it. But he's the 30-year-old mechanic from Birmingham, 3 children under 5. And only started racing the 116 trophy at the end of last season. Base it in Bartley Green. So under half an hour to go now in the race. We're still watching Peter Keane in number 151, with just behind him 187 George Healer. In terms of best lap times in the race, Peter Keane's done 59.93. George Healer has done a 60.013, so not very much to choose between them in terms of lap time. Big squeal of tyres, and that's because there's been a spin on the exit of Graham Hill Bend, and it's the number 84 car of Dexter Le Sauvage and Ian Le Sauvage. And the Guernsey driver, whichever one of them it is, whether it's son Dexter or father Ian, that car has rejoined, I'm pleased to say, after a spin at Graham Hill Bend. Yeah, Keane and Healer are remarkably consistent, both to one another and with their own lap time spun, in spite of traffic that they have to deal with. That time through, they were both in the mid-60s, 60.6, 60.7. There's Harry Darrell, we're talking about him. Donington Park, his favourite circuit, his local circuit, so he uses it as a men's mental health day, because it's the closest circuit to them. Car built by JH Racing in 2025 for Darrell. That's the car we can see there. Now they're pushing him, the Bartley Green Commercials back out, get into the race. Looking at the advantage that the leader, the man that will be the leader, has, that's the Sedman Priestwood car. It's going to be about 10 seconds over Peter Keane, so it feels like that's come down to me over time. So we'll keep an eye on that. We'll see if that battle does intensify before the end of the race. There's still 27 minutes to go. This race. And the Sean and Simon Udan car, the hatchback has popped open on that car, acting as an air brake, no doubt. So I'm not sure why that's happened, sort of part way through the race. I wonder whether they opened the hatchback at one of the pit stops and it didn't close properly again. And if that's not the case, then why did it suddenly pop open an hour and 4 minutes into the race when it hadn't done previously? Slightly odd. Scott Jeffs, by the way, I think came back into the pits, having done an exploratory lap. Probably they've decided to call it a day now. There's the race leading car, or the car that will be the race leader, where it's the 3 cars ahead of it have stopped. Those 3 cars are the 8 car of Albert Henriksen Bell, the 78 car James Paul and Charles Devlin, and the 117 car as well of Angus Goff and Mark Walton. So those 3 yet to make their stops. But there is the car that will assume the lead of the race. And what's the gap now? It's the de facto second place car. I need to do a bit of mental arithmetic here. 9.5 seconds. And the reason I need to do mental arithmetic is because Will Abraham is still out on the road in between 5 and 151, but needs to make another stop before the end of the race. Got to do it in the next 10 minutes or so, because the pit window closes with 15 minutes of the race left. So up the inside of the traffic, including the 325 car of Callum Davis, goes the number 5 car of Anthony Seddon and Mac Priestwood. Not quite sure for certain who's aboard of that car at the moment. We might find out at the end of the race if Yusuf manages to get an interview with the drivers they get out of the car. Should see, if we stay with the shot, the second place car come through. There it is, Peter Keane and George Healer coming through Clearways and Clark Curve. Just see if the gap's coming down again between them. That time through, the Seddon Priestwood car did a 101.080, Keane did a 100.252, Healer 100.211, so the gap has come down to 8.2 seconds now, so I think we could be in for a grandstand finish here. What that suggests to me is that it might be Anthony Seddon in the car now. He's perhaps not quite as quick as Matt Priestwood, and I hope I'm not doing either of them an injustice there. But that could mean that we have an exciting finish with Peter Keane and George Healer closing in on the race-leading number 5 car. Anthony Seddon Racing is the team name. Whether it's Anthony Seddon Racing the car at the moment is a slight question mark. Making his way through Clearways towards the end of what was going to be lap number 63 for them. So we've had 67 minutes, 63 minutes, 63 laps will have been completed. .78 cars getting a 5-second track limits penalty now, I think. If it didn't have one before, that's the Paul and Devlin car that is in third place at the moment. Oh, and now we've got a car off in the gravel, and we're going to possibly have to have an interruption here just before the end of the pit window, and that does cause a problem for those drivers that haven't made their final stop yet, so they probably want to dive into the pits as soon as they can. The car in the gravel is the number 22 car. Safety car is indeed scrambled, I think, not yet showing on our timing screen, but I can see it's about to move away from its position at the back of the Cooper straight, and they'll just wait to pick up the leader, I think, although to be fair, the leader's just gone by, so there might be a while. But it's the 22 car of Rich Roundell that was in the gravel trap there. Ryan Carefooty started that car. Whether it was Ryan or Rich Roundell in the car at the moment, I'm not quite sure. But Rich, the 50-year-old mechanic and technician from Warrington, who started racing a long time ago now, it says around 1992, done racing including the Ford XR Challenger, also raced a Vectra in the Northwest Sports and Saloons as well, but has been racing in the 116 Trophy for a few seasons now, pretty much I think since it was inaugurated. So safety car now does move out onto the circuit. It is going to pick up, I think, 4 cars between itself and the leading car, which is the number 5, Anthony Seddon and Matt Priestwood car. So I think before we get going here, there will be a wave through. There's 22 minutes of the race left to go. Henriksen Bell did, well, he's in the pits now. Did he make it in before the safety car was scrambled? The 78 car didn't get in, but I think of that and the 117 car, which has gone missing anyway. So is that also involved? Yes, it is. That car is also in the gravel, the 117 car. We only saw the one on the live stream images there, but a little bit further up the gravel trap is the 117 car, which is the Mark Walton and Angus Goff car. So that was one of the cars that hadn't made it stop, but it's not going to now. So I think the only team that are still circulating that have not made sufficient stops is the number 78 James Paul Charles Devlin car. And I don't think this pit window is going to be open by the time the safety car comes back in. And of course, when the safety car does come in, the cars can't follow the safety car into the pit lane then. So that's unfortunate for Team 78, I think. But it does mean we can kind of ignore them on the timing screen now. The Snatch vehicle is going to collect the 117 car first, I think. No, it's not. It's going to collect the 22 car first. It was just manoeuvring around to the front of the car to try and pick it up. Now, certainly the front bodywork was deranged, but hopefully there's no more sort of serious issues that means that car needs a lift. which would further delay the restart of this race. So, the car that's yet to come out of the pit lane is the number 8 car. I think it is out now, actually, the Henriksen-Bell car. Some words being exchanged in pit lane. That's James Poole. So I think he was going to get possibly back into that car because he started that car. Charles Devner was doing the middle stint, but now he's not able to get back in. He was poised to go towards the end of the pit window, but the pit window, I think, will close before the race resumes, so can't make a legitimate stop. And the penalty for stopping outside of the window is a lap penalty, so that will drop them back down the order from wherever they do complete the race. 22 cars been dragged to the edge of the gravel trap now. It's the Rich Roundel Ryan Cafferty car, Ryan the sometime Mazda MX-5 racer. So is that going to be, yeah, that's going to, under its own power, continue, no doubt, hopefully off the racing line so it's not spreading gravel everywhere. And it will probably head to the pit lane, one would think, for some checks if nothing else. Right, so order, as things stand, I'm going to take out of this the 78 car of Paul and Devlin and the 209 car of Will Abraham, because actually both of them still need to make a second stop, or a second legitimate stop. So I reckon the leader is number 5, Anthony Seddon and Matt Priestwood. Second now is number 151, Peter Keane. Third is number 187, George Healer. Fourth is number 47, Colin Anton and Luke Fox. Fifth, number 234, Lee Pearce. Sixth, number 8, Albert Henriksen-Bell. Seventh, number 27, which is the car of James Allen. Eighth, number 10, which is Jonathan Baker. Ninth, number 86, Pete Brand. And 10th, the 75 car, which is Lewis Tyndall and Tom Sibley. Tom Sibley, who started that car. The second of the cars is now on the edge of the circuit, so I think that's going to be able to go under its own steam. So actually, having said we might not get the safety car cleared before the pit window opens, there is now a faint possibility because the 117 car is driving away. No, we've not had a wave through yet, have we? No, we've not, because there's still those 4 cars, here they are now on the screen, between the safety car and the leader, which is number 5, Anthony Seddon and Matt Priestwood. And it may be that they want to wave those cars past before the race restarts, and that would take probably one more lap than otherwise it would do to get the race back underway. So it's going to be touch and go with those 2 cars that need to make another stop are going to get to do so before the pit window ends. 116 Trophy having its first race of the season. Of course, it's a 6-round calendar for this year. There's also events at Pembrey on the 24th of March, at Snetterton on the 21st of June, Silverstone International in August, Croft on the 20th of September, and Donington Park on the 18th of October to round out the year. That wave through has now happened, and those 4 cars have been raised in the safety car now as the cars run up towards Druids does indeed pick up the number 5 car, the race leader. Oh, only the problem is that the race leader has now gone past the safety car as well, which kind of defeats the object of all of this. I'm not quite sure how that has happened. But of course the problem is that's not the race leader, is it? Because the leader is the 78 car that is still out there. That is the problem. So they're not left. So yeah, they've got to find the 78 car, even though that car is not the legitimate leader, really. They're having to let all of these cars past and not let the number 5 car through. So where's the 78 car in the queue? Trying to see it. Oh yeah, it's about another 4 or 5 cars to go. So it wasn't 4 cars that they needed to wave through. It's probably about 24 that they needed to wave through in the end. And that's the oddity of this. You've got that car which has got a time penalty. It's going to make its last pit stop out of the window. It's not really the leader in that sense, but it is on the timing screens, and that's really what matters. So it's going to be, I think, another lap probably before the race gets back underway. Looking down towards the start line, and yeah, still yellow flags waving this time. There's a pit board being waved animatedly at someone saying, come in, but they can't come in because the safety car is out, so they're not allowed to. Well, they're allowed to, but then they'll be penalised for doing so. It was being shown at the 78 car, I think, of Paul and Devlin, but yeah, I'm sure he knows he needed to come in, but the rules say that you can't make a mandatory stop behind the safety car, and well, that's just the way the cookie crumbles, I'm afraid, with these regulations in the 116 trophy. Even though they've changed for this season now to make it 2 pit windows for the 2 stops, it's still the case that you can't take your stop behind the safety car. So safety car is gonna, I think, soon get everyone back in a train again, by the looks of things. And I wonder if we will therefore get a green flag at the end of this lap. But we do now have less than 15 minutes to go, so the pit window is closed. Yeah, confirmation on screens that car 78 did not stop during the window. What I've not seen is a notification that car 209 also did not stop in the window, because although it's made 2 stops, the second of those stops was before 50 minutes into the race. Safety car light's still on, so I think we're going to get another lap behind the safety car. That's another lap at which car 78, well, it might go in anyway, but it's going to be a stop that it's not going in fact, it wouldn't count anyway, so it is staying out there, having its moment of glory in the lead of the race. James Paul and Charles Devlin. There's now only 13.5 minutes to go in the race. I think surely we'll get a green flag next time, because the circuit has been clear for some time. It's just doing this wave through that has caused the problems, and the fact that it's was a different wave through than the one we expected. Car 209, yes, there is now the notification that didn't stop within the pit window as well. So I think we've got 2 cars that will end up being penalised for stopping out of sequence. Safety car's got a wriggle on this lap, the Volkswagen Golf. So that suggests to me that the lights are going to be turned off imminently, and that we'll be back into racing very much in the very near future. In fact, the lights go off as it turns through Graham Hill Bend, it accelerates away, and now it's within the power of Charles Devlin in number 78 to control the pace and lead the field round. Now, what of course he also can't do is follow the safety car in, but having already missed the pit window, that's probably pretty academic if he does follow the safety car in this time. So through they go. The car behind him is the 234 car. That's the car that I think will be effectively in 5th position, that of Lee Pearce. So that soon will make progress. So safety car goes in, green flag ready at the finish line, 12 minutes of the race to go, pit lane closed, and there we go, green flag, and we're back underway. So still something to be disputed, because it does mean that the 5 car is still the de facto leader, and there's only 2.3 seconds between the Seddon Priestwood car, number 5, we'll try and pick this up in the queue, and the 151 car of Peter Keane and the 187 car of George Healer. So those are the 2 that are leading on track, but they're not going to be in contention for the victory. The leading car is about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th in the queue at the moment as they come through Graham Hill Bend, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars between the Seddon and Priestwood car and the car that really is in second place, which is that of Peter Keane. So the 78 car isn't going to come in this time, or we didn't see it just cut away before we could see whether he was going to go into the pits this time, but I'm not sure he was, you know, because it's not appeared on my timing screen. Yeah, he's still out there. He's just enjoying himself too much. I think he's probably realised, well, if I'm going to get a penalty anyway, I might as well just not make the stop at all, you know. Maybe there's something in that. And he's being chased, he's enjoying himself, being challenged by the 234 car of Lee Pearce, who's probably going to get a top 5 or top 6 finish out of all of this. With although he's going to be almost lapped, I think, by the leaders. Just looking down as the car's coming down the hill out of my window, I can see that it is still the 5 car ahead, but Peter Keane, I think, is getting closer in the 151. Yeah, the gap between them now is down to less than 2 seconds, so we'll see if we can pick this up. There is the leader, number 5, and just in the background there you could see a few other cars, and then the 151 car of Peter Keane. There's Christopher Gunners, I think that probably now is in the number 71 car, the FSR Force End Racing car. But over the line they come to complete lap number 73, and the gap from first to the real second place is down to let's have a look. It actually went out a little bit that time with traffic, I think, to back out to around about 2 seconds between Seddon and Priestwood, and Keane in third. Of course, the real one that's sort of in the mixing all of this up is Will Abraham as well, who made that stop a little bit too early, who genuinely is probably could be contending for the win if he hadn't stopped out of sequence, but he did stop out of sequence, and so he's going to get a penalty, so we can kind of ignore him. He's just ahead of the Peter Keane car. What I don't know is if the drivers of the cars around him know what the situation with Will Abraham is, and the fact that he's therefore going to finish a lap down, and also what the situation with the 78 car is, that he's still out in front, still hasn't come into the pits, in spite of the active gesturing at him. But maybe the team have just changed their mind and thought, well, you know what, he might as well stay out now. There's only 9 minutes to go. What have we got to lose? So you've got these three. They've been joined now by, is that Albert Henriksen Bell? I think it is. Albert Henriksen Bell is going to go around the outside, if he can, of Lee Pearce to take what will effectively be 5th position away. Doesn't quite make it there, so this is the battle for 5th. The blue car 2, 3, 4, Lee Pearce, and the sort of green and gold car of number 8, the rookie Albert Henriksen Bell, fresh out of karting. That's the battle for 5th and 6th. Just behind them, Will Abraham is going to unlap himself here, a bit further back from the Seddon and Priestwood car. Now, I don't know if Anthony Seddon and Matt Priestwood will know that this is not the battle for the lead. Will Abraham now getting his car at the inside of him, and there's contact, and Seddon spins around. That's the leader, has been spun around after contact from Will Abraham there at Clearways. There's Seddon recovering, but that is a change of lead, I think, because I think Peter Keane will have gone through into the lead of the race now. Yes, he has. So Peter Keane up to 2nd on the timing screen behind Will Abraham, who didn't make his stop in the window. The 78 car has gone into the pit lane, so we have a new race leader, and that effectively, although it's not showing on the timing screens this way, is the 151 car of Peter Keane. There's the pit stop to hand over to James Poole from Charles Devlin in the number 78 car. Very belatedly is going to get about 5 or 6 laps, I think, is James Poole at the end of the race. But drama there, we didn't catch it on the live stream, but we did see it out of our window. There was the contact there between Abraham and Anthony Seddon. That car has recovered. It is still circulating. I think that's going to be 4th position once times have been corrected. But yeah, that's really changed the complexion of the race. So let's see if we can pick up our leader, the de facto leader. That's the car that it's no longer, so a few cars further ahead is 209 Will Abraham, who's leading on the road, but it's going to get a penalty. And the 151 car of Peter Keane, who's right with him now. And yeah, those two heading up Paddock Hill Bend towards Druids. We'll see if we can pick up those cars just turning their way through Druids now. Behind that battle are the two that are leading on the road, albeit well, Abraham has got a penalty, but it might be the case that Peter Keane in the 151 car doesn't know that, and he will sort of fight potentially unnecessarily. They're in that next group of cars that's just coming towards us now at Surtees. We'll watch them through. There we are, there's Peter Keane, there's Will Abraham. So those are the two, and it's putting a lap on the 27 car there, that are sort of at the top of the timing screen, separated by 0.2 of a second as we go into the final 6 minutes of the race. But Abraham will get a penalty for an out of sequence start, I think. 6 minutes to go, then over the line they go. Abraham by 0.2 of a second from Keane on the road. Healer 3rd, he's 2 seconds behind those two, and then it's Seddon and Priestwood 4th, and 5th now actually it's Anderson and Fox, Conor Anderson and Luke Fox. So Henriksen and Bell and Pearce were battling for 7th place, but that would be 6th, won't it, once the Abraham penalty is applied, or will it? Because the Abraham penalty will be a 1-lap penalty. So we'll just have to see whether he slots in ahead of Henriksen, Bell and Pearce or not. All very confusing. So there's Peter Keane up the inside of Will Abraham. Abraham not making it easy for him, so Abraham's just sort of driving at his normal race here, not wanting to let Peter Keane through. He thinks he's battling for the lead of the race here. Keane taking a much wider line to try and go all the way around the outside of Will Abraham as they come up to the line to complete that number 78 of the race. It's Abraham in the 209 car. It's the 151 car of Peter Keane, and it was just by 0.03 of a second Peter Keane that had his nose in front over the line. But I think it's Abraham that's back ahead by the time they get through Paddock Hill Bend. But Keane having another goes up the inside here, going into Druids, turning his way through the right-hander, and he's done it that time. Decisive move from Peter Keane. He goes back through, but Will Abraham is not going to take this line down. He's going to try and get back through, but I think we'll find after the race it's all academic. Bit of a skittish moment there for Peter Keane coming through Graham Hill Bend. He's still got Abraham right behind him. George Healer is only 1.2 seconds, so these two have been battling. He's got closer to the cars in front of him, but I think there are a couple of back markers between himself and the two quote-unquote leaders. 4 minutes to go in this Gas Shocks 116 trophy. It's been a drama-filled race, particularly the last few moments. Keane now ahead by 2 or 3 tenths of a second from Abraham. Healer there in third, and the Seddon Priestwood car now in 4th position, 6 seconds behind the leaders. See what, if any, other penalties might be applied for any driving standards issues during the course of this race, because there has been a bit of contact as the race has gone on, involving various drivers. We've only had those 2 that ended up in the gravel trap, bringing about the safety car 20 minutes or so ago. So Keane and Abraham there. You can see the 187 car of Healy. He's just behind the 86 of Pete Brandt, who's in 11th position. Oh, and there's been some contact there. That's the 10 car that is off. That's Jonathan Baker. So I didn't quite see how he managed to get involved in all of that, but he's running in 9th position, so inside the top 10. Is he going to drop out of the top 10 potentially as a result of that? Thankfully going on to the last 3 laps of the race now. There was some contact from actually the leading car of Peter Keane that put the number 10 car out wide temporarily of Jonathan Baker. Wondered what had happened there, but that's what we think happened. So Peter Keane 151. Will Abraham still sticking out this, isn't he, in the 209 car? I just wonder if he didn't realise what the pit stop rules were now in the 116 trophy. He didn't realise that the change, or hadn't quite read the regulations carefully enough. Definitely I'm understanding that the pit stop had to be made, the second pit stop, after 50 minutes into the race, i.e. with 40 minutes or less left. And he made the stop with, I think, 44 minutes of the race left. So 2 laps to go, I reckon, in this Gas Shocks 116 trophy race. And actually, both Keane and Abraham on that lap, of course, with lighter fuel loads now, doing personal best laps of the race. 59.802 for Keane, 59.776 for Abraham. Still the best lap of the race to the Seddon Priestwood car, 59.756. But just goes to show what a lighter fuel load will do. They put a lap on the number 64 car, that's Paul Offord, the driver from Dunmow in Essex. 71 car just ahead of them is Jack and Christopher Gordon. That car is in 7th place overall. What has changed? What has changed is we've lost, have we not, the Henriksen Bell car. That's had a penalty. Number 8, Albert Henriksen Bell. Just want to see what that is for. Let's drop. He's had a 2-lap penalty. I'm not quite sure why. I'll try and see if I can get some information on that. But Albert Henriksen Bell, who was threatening a top 5 finish, has had a 2-lap penalty. So that might be for a pit stop infringement. Yeah, not quite sure what that's for. We've not have the notification of the penalty for him, but not the reason why. Anyway, we're working the last lap of the race now. I think it's Peter Keane who is going to take the checkered flag first, we reckon, which is the right result. So I think there'll be penalties applied to other drivers. But yeah, Henricks and Bell, bit of a mystery. I don't have a notification as to why the number 8 car has had a 2-lap penalty. It didn't stop outside the safety car period, I don't think, or anything like that. Well, outside the pit stop window. Right, up to the line with 3, 2, 1, 0 seconds comes Peter Keane. He takes the checkered flag. Won 3 times last year in the Gasshocks 116 trophy. Was successful today in the 116 sprint challenge, and he comes across the line here to take the checkered flag to win round 1 of Gasshocks 116 trophy 2026, and he does so by 3.3 seconds from George Healer in second place, because the lap that has been docked from Will Abraham's time. So it's Anthony Seddon and Matt Priestwood third. Fourth place goes the way of number 47, Connor Anderson and Luke Fox. Fifth, I think, but a lap down, will be the number 2, 3, 4 car. Well, no, they might still be on the lead lap, actually. Yes, they are. They're just turning their way through the final few corners. And actually, there's a challenge on for fifth here, because the I reckon it's Jack Godden in the car for the final stint, is just closing in on Lee Pearce towards the end of the race. They're coming up to the line now, and who's got the verdict there? It is Lee Pearce, who just gets it in the 234 car from number 71, Jack Godden. Well, Abraham will be 7th, but a lap down, and then it'll be the 27 car, James Allen, 86 Pete Brand, and the 118 car of James Hone and Callum Newsham, after all the penalties have been applied, not all of which I'm immediately clear on the reasons for. But I'm sure all of that will be sorted out after the race. Already, though, Peter Keane in pit lane. So, quick look at the results. The top 10 will give you 151 Peter Keane. It was the race winner. 187 George Healer was second. The number 5 car of Anthony Seddon and Matt Priestwood, they were third. Priestwood having started that car. 47 Connor Anderson and Luke Fox. Luke Fox having started that car. They were fourth. Lee Pearce, number 234, was 5th. 71, Jack and Christopher Gordon was 6th. Will Abraham in 209 was 7th, a lap down after his penalty. 8th went to number 27, that was the car of James Allen. 9th, number 86, Pete Brand. And 10th, the number 118 car of James Hone and Callum Newsham. And Yusuf bin Suhail hopefully has the top 3 drivers ready to talk to him. They'll be down in the pit lane, at the far end of the pit lane from where we are. And we'll hopefully be able to head down to hear from them in just a moment. We're ready to go, so let's hear from Yusuf with our top 3 in the 116 trophy.
Definitely, that was tiring. That was absolute chaos at the end there. Like, blue flags, no one's getting out of the way. You know, they saw it coming, they were getting the blue flags, no one was moving out of the way. It was all stay on the line. You know, it was a bit ridiculous, really. Got shoved into a car. Had the inside up here, got shoved into somebody. Unfortunately, it took them out. Didn't mean to, obviously, had the line, but got shoved into him. So sorry about that. Sorry to Bacon for that. But yeah, tough race. That was super hard. But yeah, at the end there, it was absolute chaos. Just trying to get through everyone because of the safety car.
And a really hard-fought battle as well with Will Abraham. Yeah. Did you know that he had a penalty?
Yeah, well, I did. But obviously, he's holding me up. So I'm trying to get on the radio, telling him that obviously he's got a 2-lap penalty. He needs to pit again. So why is he racing me? But anyway, regardless of that, we got the result. Unfortunately, but yeah, there was a bit of contact and stuff, which obviously we'll sort out. But yeah, I'm happy for the win, but not the way I wanted to do it.
Yeah, and well, on the plus side, a bit of a clean sweep of the weekend.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, hopefully, yeah. So 2 wins on Saturday and then today. So we had the pace in the car all weekend. It's been really good. But yeah, just not the way I wanted to end it with the sort of contact and stuff, which is a bit unfortunate. So I'll have to sort that out. Obviously, you know, I'm not happy about that. But the win obviously is great. But yeah, the Saturday was brilliant. But yeah, really happy with the results.
Well, congrats on the wins, and we'll see you next time out.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Right, let's have a chat with George, who I think I found him. Hello, George.
Hi, how are you? You okay?
I'm very well, thank you. The sun's come out for your interview. What's that on his car?
Looks like a picture of Matt Highcock, who's a previous champ, so not quite sure about that one. But
fair enough. I don't think it was on there while he was out on track.
No, definitely wasn't. Definitely wasn't. He drove really well. We had probably, I don't know, if there were 100 laps, I must have spent either 70 either on his bumper or he was on my bumper. So yeah, really, really good driving, very fair. and you can trust him. So that's also really nice when you're going around Paddock Hill Bend at like 80 miles an hour. So it's good, really good.
Yeah, and as we spoke about as well during the lunch break, no lap 1, turn 1 shenanigans.
No shenanigans, which was really good. But yeah, it was Will Abraham was pushing quite hard the first 10 laps. So, but other than that, it was fairly routine, fairly normal. So it was good.
Well, congrats on second, and we'll see you next time out.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate it. Cheers.
Right, let's have a chat with our third place drivers who I can't tell. I think they've done a bit of a runner. So they're not in their car. It was Anthony Seddon and Matt Priestwood, who I did want to have a chat about one of the incidents earlier on. But I guess with that, we're going to hand back over to the commentary box.